Hello. I had built my life around the idea that I was a successful businessman with a loving wife. For years, our marriage seemed to flourish in the warmth of mutual respect and understanding. She was my partner, my confidant, and my greatest supporter, or so I thought. Lately, though, cracks had begun to appear. Little things that I couldn't put my finger on kept bothering me, gnawing away at my peace of mind. It all started when my wife decided to get more active. She had been talking about joining a gym for months, so when she finally took the plunge, I supported her wholeheartedly. I was even proud of her commitment to living a healthier lifestyle. She hired a personal trainer to guide her through the process, and honestly, I thought it was a great idea. I worked long hours, so this gave her something to focus on while I handled my business. But then came the subtle shifts in her demeanor. At first, I chalked it up to the natural high of endorphins. She seemed brighter, more alive, at least when she wasn't at home. Around me, though, there was a subtle but undeniable change. Our once frequent conversations grew stilted, and her affectionate gestures, the small but meaningful touches that used to make my day, dwindled until they were almost non-existent. Her laughter, which used to fill our home, became reserved for moments spent on her phone or when she returned from the gym. My first real moment of doubt came one evening when I tried to initiate a conversation about her training sessions. She smiled but dismissed it with a vague comment about how intense her trainer was. Her phone pinged with a message, and I caught her smiling at the screen before she quickly set it face down. I shrugged it off. I didn't want to seem controlling or paranoid, and after all, wasn't it good that she had found a routine she enjoyed? But the uneasy feeling didn't go away. I told myself it was just insecurity, something every husband feels now and then. I trusted her implicitly, or at least I thought I did. The turning point came on a quiet Saturday morning. I had planned to surprise her by joining her for breakfast after her gym session. She had told me the trainer added a weekend group class that she was eager to attend, but as I drove by the gym, I noticed her car wasn't in the lot. Confused, I parked a block away and waited for a while, thinking maybe she was running late. An hour passed, then two, and still no sign of her. When she came home later that morning, her gym bag slung over her shoulder, her face had the telltale flush of exertion. She leaned in to kiss my cheek, her words light and cheerful. "You wouldn't believe how hard today's workout was." I nodded, keeping my face neutral, but her words echoed in my mind. Where had she really been? The next few weeks were a blur of mounting suspicions and small, seemingly insignificant discoveries that began to feel like pieces of a puzzle I didn't want to solve. Her gym sessions extended longer than before. She started keeping her phone closer, and the device rarely left her side. The phone lay face down on her nightstand, silenced to avoid any accidental disturbances. My breaking point came on a weekday afternoon. I had a light schedule at work and decided to head home early. When I arrived, her car wasn't in the driveway. A quick check of her usual spots yielded no results, so I decided to do something I had avoided thus far. I drove to the gym. When I got there, I didn't expect much. I told myself I was just being overly cautious. But as I entered, the receptionist looked at me with surprise. "Mr. Last name, it's been a while. How can I help you?" I hesitated before responding, "Oh, just dropping by to check on wife's name. Is she still working out?" The receptionist tilted her head, clearly puzzled. "I haven't seen her today. Actually, I don't think I've seen her here all week." I left the gym with my stomach in knots. The doubts that had lingered at the back of my mind were now front and center. Something was definitely off, but I still didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe there was a simple explanation, something that didn't involve betrayal or deceit. When she came home that night, I casually brought up the gym, asking how her session went. Her face betrayed no hesitation as she described her workout in great detail. She even added an anecdote about her trainer correcting her form during squats. I nodded along, but inside, I was reeling. I had just been to the gym. She wasn't there. The next few days were a haze of quiet observation. I started noticing little things I hadn't before. The faint scent of cologne on her clothes that wasn't mine. The way she always seemed to be rushing out the door for her sessions. When I suggested going with her one evening, she froze for a moment before forcing a smile. "You wouldn't like it," she said. "It's mostly women, and the trainer's kind of intense. I don't think it's your vibe. I didn't push, but her reaction lingered in my mind. That night, I decided I needed answers. I set up a small GPS tracker in her car, a device I never thought I'd use, but had purchased out of desperation. The first day, her routine seemed normal: home, work, gym. But on the second day, the tracker revealed an unexpected detour. She had stopped at a location several miles away from the gym and stayed there for almost 2 hours. When I checked the address, my heart sank. It was a residential area. The moment I realized my suspicions were true, my life changed forever. It was a quiet Wednesday morning when the last puzzle piece fell into place. For weeks, I had been battling with my gut instincts, trying to convince myself that my wife was incapable of betraying me. But the evidence was undeniable now. Her fake stories about gym sessions, the unexplained hours away, and, most damning of all, the tracker showing her car parked outside a suburban home when she was supposed to be with her trainer. When I walked into that house unannounced, I half hoped to find something that would exonerate her, something that would prove my fears wrong. Instead, I found her and her trainer, a man I had foolishly trusted, wrapped in each other's arms. Left no room for misinterpretation. They both froze, their faces masks of shock and guilt. My wife stammered something incoherent, but I couldn't hear her over the roaring in my ears. I turned around and walked out without a word, leaving behind the life I thought I knew. My only thought was that I needed to act, not out of anger, but out of a deep sense of betrayal that had taken root in my chest. That evening, I contacted a lawyer. The decision to divorce wasn't easy, but it was clear. My wife's actions had shattered my trust, and there was no going back. I wanted to ensure the process was as swift and decisive as possible. We'd been married for over 10 years, but no amount of shared history could undo what she'd done. A few days later, I received an unexpected call from someone I'd never met, Anna, the coach's wife. She was polite but direct, introducing herself and explaining how she had learned about her husband's affair with my wife. She'd found incriminating messages and photos on his phone and had confronted him just days before I caught them together. "I thought you should know," she said, her voice steady but tinged with hurt. "I'm filing for divorce too." Her calmness surprised me, and before I knew it, we were talking for hours. She shared her own story, and we bonded over our shared betrayal. It felt oddly comforting to know I wasn't alone in this, that someone else understood the unique pain of discovering the person you loved had torn apart your life. Anna and I decided to work together, not just to finalize our divorces, but to ensure our former spouses faced the full weight of their actions. She suggested a bold move, sharing the truth with our extended families and social circles. At first, I hesitated. It felt petty, vindictive even, but as Anna pointed out, they had made their choices publicly and without shame. Why should we bear the burden of their secrecy? We gathered everything: photos, messages, and even the videos captured on the tracker app. It wasn't just about exposing them. It was about reclaiming control of the narrative they had stolen from us. Together, we sent a carefully worded email to our family and close friends, explaining what had happened and attaching the evidence. We didn't embellish or add unnecessary drama, just the facts. The fallout was immediate. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages of support and disbelief. Friends and relatives who had once admired my wife for her grace and charm were now reaching out to offer their condolences. The coach's family, Anna told me, reacted similarly. His parents, who had always doted on him, were heartbroken and furious. In the weeks that followed, Anna and I found ourselves leaning on each other more and more. What started as joint meetings with our lawyers turned into shared dinners and long walks. We discovered a surprising amount of common ground beyond our shared heartbreak. She was intelligent, kind, and had a sharp sense of humor that could make me laugh even in my darkest moments. It felt strange, almost guilty, to enjoy someone's company so much when my life was still in ruins, but Anna had a way of making the pain more bearable. One evening, as we sat on her porch, sipping coffee and talking about everything but our exes, something shifted. She reached out and placed her hand on mine, a small gesture that sent a wave of warmth through me. I didn't pull away. Instead, I looked at her and saw someone who had been hurt just as deeply as I had, but who still had the strength to move forward. I leaned in, and before I knew it, we were kissing. It wasn't a decision made out of revenge or desperation. It felt natural, like the culmination of everything we had shared over the past few months. That night, for the first time in what felt like forever, I let myself feel something other than anger and sadness. Our relationship grew slowly but steadily. We were cautious at first, aware of how complicated our situation was. But over time, it became clear that what we had wasn't just a rebound or a coping mechanism. It was real. Anna's strength and resilience inspired me, and she often told me the same about my determination to rebuild my life. We finalized our divorces around the same time, each of us walking away with the satisfaction of knowing we had fought for what we deserved. In my case, the court had ruled heavily in my favor, thanks to the overwhelming evidence of my wife's infidelity. Anna's case was similar. Her husband's reckless behavior had cost him not just his marriage, but also the respect of his family and colleagues. The reputational damage we had inflicted on our exes was not something we took lightly. We weren't out for blood, but we believed they needed to face the consequences of their actions. Last we heard, my ex-wife had moved out of town, her social circle shrinking rapidly. The coach had lost several clients after the photos circulated, and his once promising career was now hanging by a thread. About a year after our divorces were finalized, Anna and I got married in a small by close friends and family. It wasn't a grand affair, but it didn't need to be. What mattered was the life we were building together, one based on trust and mutual respect. Goodbye.